The plane shudders violently, alarms blaring. Passengers scream as the cabin drops hundreds of feet in seconds. Amid the chaos, one quiet girl in row 8 calmly reaches for the controls. No one knew she had ever flown a plane, yet in this moment, every life depends on her next move. How did she suddenly become the only hope for everyone on board? The cabin shook violently, throwing passengers into their seats like ragdolls. The overhead lights flickered as a deep, warning alarm blared through the speakers. A low rumble of panic rolled across the cabin, mixed with screams and gasps. The seatbelt signs flashed relentlessly, yet it was already too late. Gravity was no longer their friend. The plane was losing altitude, fast. Flight attendants struggled to stay upright, bracing themselves as passengers clutched armrests and each other. Mothers whispered frantic prayers, children whimpered, and the air seemed to thicken with fear. In the chaos, the captain's calm voice came over the intercom, strained and unsteady. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing a critical situation. Please remain seated." The hesitation, the crack in his voice, only intensified the dread. Every passenger felt it. The plane was dropping in ways that no turbulence should allow. Drinks spilled, luggage rattled, and the overhead bins rattled as if warning of the danger ahead. Somewhere behind the storm of panic, a quiet whisper of fear started to turn into hopelessness. This was no ordinary flight problem. Something was gravely wrong. Amid the screaming and chaos, a strange calm radiated from a single figure in row 8. Unlike everyone else, she didn't scream. She didn't clutch at her seat. She just sat forward, eyes narrowing as if assessing the invisible lines of danger around her. No one knew why, but something about her presence seemed almost steadying. Even the chaos seemed to bend slightly around her, giving her space in the storm. Passengers were too focused on survival to notice her at first, but as the plane shuddered again, her hands moved subtly, not in panic, but with deliberate precision. She wasn't reaching for comfort or prayer. She was reaching for a solution. Every muscle in her body was focused, every thought sharp and controlled. This was the calm in the heart of the storm, and it was the first hint that she might be the only person capable of confronting what was about to unfold. The roaring alarms, the flickering lights, the fear-stricken faces, it all seemed to converge on one truth: the plane was failing, and no one knew how to stop it. Everyone's eyes darted to the cockpit, hoping the trained pilots would manage it. But even as they watched, it became painfully clear that the situation was spiraling faster than the cabin could react. The engines groaned in protest, the fuselage rattled with stress, and the horizon outside the small windows tilted unnaturally as the plane dipped lower and lower. Somewhere deep inside her, the quiet girl made a decision. The screams and alarms faded slightly in her mind. The chaos became a rhythm she could anticipate. She didn't know exactly what she would do yet, but she knew one thing clearly: if no one acted now, there would be no tomorrow for anyone on this flight. While the cabin descended into chaos, the quiet girl remained a picture of composure. Her eyes scanned the environment with a clarity that contrasted sharply with the panic around her. Passengers clung to the seats and each other, but she was calculating, observing, absorbing every detail: the angles of descent, the trembling of the fuselage, the pattern of alarms, even the subtle vibrations of the controls through the cabin floor. No one knew her story. To the flight attendants, she was just another passenger, quiet, almost invisible, the type who didn't draw attention in normal circumstances. But now, under extreme pressure, the invisible threads of her past began to surface in her mind. She had spent years learning skills that most people never even imagined. Skills that, until this moment, had remained hidden, tucked away behind a facade of ordinary teenage shyness. Her fascination with airplanes had started as a child. While other kids were playing video games or sports, she was memorizing cockpit instruments, reading pilot manuals, and simulating emergency landings in flight simulators. She had practiced for hours, months, even years, immersed in aviation theory, mechanics, and emergency protocols. No one outside her family knew the extent of her knowledge, because she had never had the chance, or the need, to reveal it. But now, fate had thrust her into a situation where her hidden expertise was the only lifeline. She silently recalled the countless hours spent in virtual cockpits, running through emergency drills, engine failures, rapid descents, hydraulic malfunctions. Every procedure she had studied, every button memorized, now surged to the forefront of her mind. She could almost hear the rhythm of a functioning cockpit, even from rows away. Her fingers itched to take control, to translate her years of preparation into action, but she had to move carefully. Panic could spread like wildfire, and she couldn't afford mistakes. Around her, passengers screamed louder. Flight attendants tried to calm them, but their own fear was palpable. The pilot's train announcements came intermittently: brace for impact, descending, attempting recovery. Yet the truth was undeniable: the plane was spiraling downward faster than anyone could manage. And yet, the girl in row 8 felt a strange sense of clarity. The chaos outside her mind's eye had boundaries, and within those boundaries, she was beginning to see a path forward. A subtle shift in her body posture signaled her decision. She stood, not hurriedly, not frantically, but with a calm determination. Passengers turned, startled by her sudden movement, wondering if she was going to join in the screaming. Instead, she moved toward the cockpit with purpose, threading her way through the panic-stricken cabin. Each step was measured, every motion intentional. It was clear that she wasn't just another passenger anymore. In the midst of a plummeting plane, she was becoming something else entirely, a quiet force of focus and capability, the only hope that anyone might survive the coming moments. The cockpit door loomed ahead, its small window revealing the frantic faces of the pilots. They were shouting over alarms, trying to stabilize the plane with a mix of skill and desperation, but it was clear, even to a casual observer, that the situation was slipping out of their hands. The girl in row 8 hesitated for a fraction of a second, taking a deep breath, steadying herself. This was it, the moment that would determine the fate of everyone on board. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. The pilot spun toward her, disbelief written on their faces. "What?" the captain started, but she didn't wait for an explanation. "I can help. Please, just trust me." The first officer exchanged a look with the captain, confusion and skepticism battling panic in his eyes. The plane shuddered violently again, and the captain's hands trembled over the yoke. Time was slipping away. With a nod of reluctant acceptance, the captain stepped back slightly, allowing the girl to move closer. Inside the cockpit, everything was overwhelming: flashing lights, warning alarms, the roar of engines under duress. But to her, it felt strangely familiar. She instinctively reached for the controls, her hands moving with precision honed from countless hours of practice. Simulation after simulation, emergency drill after emergency drill. She didn't need to think. Her instincts and training flowed together seamlessly. "Engage manual override," she instructed, her voice calm but firm. The captain hesitated, then complied, fumbling with the switches as she guided him. She scanned the instrument panels, assessing altitude, speed, and the plane's critical systems. Every calculation had to be instant, every decision immediate. One wrong move could spell disaster. The cabin below seemed distant now, almost unreal. All that mattered was the cockpit and the plane itself, the metal bird plummeting through the sky, its life dependent on her hands. She adjusted the throttle, corrected the descent angle, and stabilized the plane's sudden dips. Slowly, the violent shaking lessened, the alarm's urgency fading just enough to give the crew a glimmer of hope. Passengers sensed the change, too. The screams didn't vanish, but a cautious curiosity replaced the raw panic as they noticed the shift in the atmosphere. The girl was doing something extraordinary, something that might just save them all. Her focus never wavered. Step by step, button by button, maneuver by maneuver, she regained control. Each small victory was a lifeline, a measure of time won back from the jaws of disaster. The cabin shook less violently, the engines roared with more stability, and the horizon slowly leveled. In that moment, the quiet girl in row 8 had transformed. From an ordinary passenger overlooked by everyone, she had become the calm in the storm, the hidden hero no one saw coming. Lives depended on her, and she had stepped forward, turning fear into action with courage that no one could have anticipated.